back, everyone, to the Knowledge Hub and to a session that I'm particularly proud to be hosting. Now, we've themed this year's Knowledge Hub program Lead, Inspire, Transform. And it's the middle one of those terms, Inspire, that we're now focused on. In plotting the program for this year's Knowledge Hub, I thought long and hard about the women and men in this world who inspire me, who inspire many. And I couldn't think of anyone who fits that bill better than our next guest. Tegla Loroupe is one of the greats of world athletics, a former Kenyan long-distance track and road runner, and a long-time world record holder for the 25 and 30 kilometer distances. Tegla is also a global spokeswoman for peace. She founded her own very influential Peace Foundation. She's an advocate for women's rights, for education, and for the displaced. And it was in line with her commitment for standing up for the displaced people of the world that Tegla conceived, fought for, and ultimately achieved her great notion of there being an Olympic Games refugee team, a vision that was duly recognized at the Rio Olympics in 2016 and reprised at the just concluded Tokyo Olympics in 2021, where Tegla was chef de mission for the refugee team. Now, in this recorded interview, I caught up with Tegla in the Olympic Village in Tokyo back in August to learn more about her unique humanitarian spirit. And you'll see how it shines during my conversation with her. And also to learn about her vision of a better and more equitable world. Let's meet Tegla Loroupe.
The recipient of the inaugural President's Award successfully lobbied the International Olympic Committee in 2015 to give refugees a chance to advance their athletics careers by taking part in the Olympic Games. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Tegla Loroupe.
I came from a conflict area. As I grew up, they used to say she comes from a bad community. But I say one time, I want to give back. I did not start yesterday, but I started this when I was still competing.
Nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
It's very, very nice to have you with me, Tegla. You must be so busy at the moment. So thank you so much for spending so much time. Yeah.
We try to run up and down and get a small time spare with you.
Well, no, thank you. Look, I think it's really important, Tegla, that companies, as well as sport, business also acknowledges really critical social issues. And I think when we run events, international events in an industry like ours, we shouldn't just talk about business. We should talk about business responsibility for the world. And I can't think of anyone that inspires me more than you, Tegla. Tell us about the Olympics experience. I know it's very special to you.
Sure, yeah.
Very, very special to the team as well. And of course, this was an Olympics that was postponed, and then there were question marks over this year, but it's happened. How special has that been for you, Tegla?
For me, as a former athlete, I know what it means that when the athlete is prepared for 4 years, and then all of a sudden things come in between, it hurts an athlete, and you never know if you will reach another Olympics. Despite the fact that there were so many negative, so many things anyway, that it was beyond human. And when they postponed, and now that the Olympic is now in 2020 anyway, came over, it's something special for the athletes, and especially our refugees athletes, that they don't know for tomorrow. Now they have courage that the Olympic is there, and some of them they have done their competition and they have run a personal time, and it has given them a lot of courage. And for me, it has given me courage to see that these athletes are really happy, and they have something to hope for. Yes.
Yeah, very much so. And when two athletes this year, not one, of course, a man and a woman led out the team, that must have been a really, really emotional moment, of course, for them, but for you, Tegla, for you who has really driven this whole concept of the refugee team.
I was just sitting behind like a mother, but I was really emotional because when you stay alone in your room and somewhere out of the team, and you realize that the two athletes were given opportunity to carry their flag, and also one of our athletes also was included to the 5-continent athletes that they were taking their flag for the Paris for the Olympics. That was a very special moment because we never been given that opportunity, and to be also respected and to be put we are almost in another continent because normally there are 5 athletes, and our athlete was given the leading group. That's like the whole athlete was 6. I think the whole world came to realize that the refugee kids are normal kids like anybody. It's only that the stigma that comes around because of being that, but just a name. So that's something sometimes I always advise the athlete that I stay with them, that it's just a name, it's just like a cloth, but we need to outgrow that cloth so that you become another person. Yeah.
Absolutely. I thought it was a beautiful recognition, a very emotional one. You once said, Tegla, and I think it was in Rio, in fact, you said the refugee Olympic team gives hope to those who have experienced exile and refugee camps. These athletes unite us all together. They're a symbol, not just for sport, but for the whole world. Just tell me a little bit more about that, the role of sport in reflecting on a global issue, some would say a global disgrace of the refugee plight around the world. Tell us what sport does.
When you talk about sport, there is no political in sports anyway, though there is something small, but it's a platform for the kids. For example, let's say you come from New Zealand, your country you have been displaced, and you go to a place whereby you are in a purple camp. But with sports, you just forget what you are doing, and there are always role models around the world that these kids can always emulate. They want to be like them. So and if one athlete is doing very good, even though you are a refugee, the eyes of the world will always look that there is a certain a kid in a certain camp that he or she is doing well. In sports, people can be accepted very easily. And when there is no sports, just like almost like a political place whereby you are in their camp, people tend to just say, these people are criminals. But sports always, it's like equalizer.
Yes, absolutely. And I suppose, Tegla, that sport is offering through what you're showing here with this team, a great leadership trait, really, and encouraging fair treatment for the displaced, for the refugees of the world, which, of course, we do not see. We see the direct opposite in so many lands all around our troubled world. The sport really does have a leadership role, doesn't it?
It has, but it's very minimal. That it needs people like yourself also from different parts of the world where you play to come and support such an initiative for sports. And other people will also see example. For example, yourself, you say, okay, I really want to contribute through education, provide kits for these refugee kids, and you should not be kind of like a mean person to minimize only for the refugees, but to the hosting community. In that case, it brings that closeness together. So it will open even more doors. And as much as we talk about the refugees, they need also education. And to educate these people that athletes can be also leaders that they can also tomorrow go back to their countries when they have something, they have learned something from that hosting community.
Yeah, you always tell your athletes never lose hope. Now that's easier said than done. Some of your athletes have been through things that the rest of the world would not even possibly understand. But I've heard you say that your athletes fundamentally have more resilience because of what they've been through. They've been through the worst in life, and displacement is right up there among them, and all the hardship that goes with that displacement. But is never lose hope your enduring message to them, Tegla?
Yeah, that's the only hope that you can give somebody, and I think I have a living testimony as a woman or a girl come from a pastoralist community, whereby my own community been fighting what we call a Karamojan cluster all along until I came as an athlete. So I was stigmatized myself that this girl come from a warlord. She's the daughter of a warlord. And because I had that kind of, I will never lose hope. I want to have a good name to clear what the country talk about my community. Remember that I'm just a woman, and for a girl, it's a very difficult thing. And to fight against your own community, and from community you had to fight against the country. So I was subjected not to represent Kenya for many, many times, only because I was working very, very hard. My results came up. So, and the world came to recognize there is somebody from this community. And I was not ashamed to say where I come from. So this is what I always relate to our athletes. The first time I brought this athlete from Kakuma, I told them, you know what, this is my background. And I never lost hope, because at the end of the day, somebody will make you to lose hope, but do not accept. Don't be in that platform, but be a different person that you make these people or you make them wrong. To think later on they realize, this person was not the way they were expecting. So for them, I did not have 4 legs. I have 2 legs like them, and therefore they need not to think of being a refugee. This is just a name, but prove people wrong. And also they have resilience, because they have gone so hardship that this small negativeness cannot kill you, but make the people realize that even in life they should learn something from the refugees. Okay, our kids sometimes they cry because they don't have a door, they don't have a mobile like this. They cry because they do not have a pen like better than for their friend. But for us, we live for tomorrow. We eat today, let tomorrow take itself. And therefore, they have something also to educate the other people in the hosting community. Not only athletes, even their parents.
Yeah, and of course, Tegla, after all that hardship, we've had another hardship in your own country, through much of Africa, through much of the world, of course, and that's the hardship of COVID, and that must be particularly hard at home, and it must have been very, very hard for the refugee community around the world. Just tell us about that, if you will.
Well, let's say for Kenya last year, when the pandemic broke out in March, our athletes were preparing to come to Tokyo, and they were supposed to go to Doha for 1 month. But what happened? We had to close the camps. For me, it broke my heart, because where the athletes they were asked by UNHCR to go is again to go to exposed camp, whereby in one house, maybe 5 people stays, and these 5 people, they also go and mix with others. Again, in Kakuma, it's a very difficult place to train. For the Kenyan athletes, they were able to stay in high altitudes in their camps themselves, but it's a better place. But I was all the time worried about our athletes that they might get something. Though they stayed until this in November, some of them, they just left Kakuma without permission. It happened that I was in Nairobi. I was locked down in Nairobi. So I stayed with one of our administrators, called Lam, also a former refugee, but he works for the foundation. So when the athlete came, I did not know what to do. So some people asked me to return them. And then I said, no, I will never do that because this is almost 1,000 kilometers and you never know what they have come across. And now they're in Nairobi. So they told me, oh, Tegla, then you will be the one of the victims. Remember last year when you talk about Corona, it was something more, people were afraid to come close to you. I say, let be. If it was my time to get Corona, I will get it with this athlete. Okay, some of our athletes, I was supported by the government. So they were tested and 2 of them also had the symptoms, but they came over and they continued training. So I stayed with them last year and they were training this year. They were able to open the doors and they were able to train anyway. Some of the athletes that they remain in Kakuma, they had to come to Nairobi because of schools. My brother was our athlete, they go to school. I encourage them to divide education and sports. So they have to balance. So, and then we did not have cases this year, apart from December last year.
Yeah. Just talk us through the inspiration behind a lot of your work, Tegla, if you will. And I know it's clearly been influenced by your own growing up, and of course your own later success, your athletic success, but conflict and hardship and suffering, they were very much part of your formative years, were they not? And just tell us how those experiences helped shape your understanding of the misery, if you like, that others faced, and why it drove you towards the peace work you do, and of course the Olympic refugee work that you did. How much of your childhood, of your teenage years, drove the person and the work that you are today?
I think it's almost like 98% because when you grow up in a community, first of all, they did not approve for girls to go to school. You are asked to do domestic work or be a babysitter. Of course, I was a babysitter a short time, and then I had to tell people, this is not my children. I have to go to school. Take care of your kids. So that stubbornness, to be a stubborn person, gave me that opportunity to fight against the odds. And I realized that I have to fight every time, and I always accept whatever comes. If I don't lose, I'm fine. And when I went to train in Germany after fighting with the federations, I became one of the best, and still I was dropped out of the federation to represent the country. So I wanted to go to Uganda. Why I wanted to go to Uganda? I wanted to make sure that an African woman, because we always get also negatives when we go out, we say these African women, they never do much. Not knowing, nobody understand that our women, we do not have what we call encouragement. We do not have empowerment. We could do more what other women in the whole world are doing. But since I had opportunity to train in Germany, there was 2 things that were disturbing me. How to bring better women in our country and also Africa continent. I did not think of my society alone. And again, the worst thing, the conflict in my society. How am I going to change these people? But since I had a name, and when I was in Europe, if there is something they wanted, like a charity, they always ask me, go and talk, and people listen to me. I went to Jakarta after the bomb blast. I went and then I was able to talk to people and they listen. So I told myself, I think I have a call from God. I should not fear. I have to go home and use my name, use sports maybe to make a platform for the politician to talk to the people to understand why are these people are fighting, why are doing cattle rustling. One thing is education. We didn't have education anyway. And when youth doesn't have education, what do? They do other things. So that's the thing that I came, and I was able to organize a peace race in our region. And there was no race before, because I was the first woman or the first person to come out of this community and represent the country. And okay, the government picked very well, because they say this girl became courageous, and she did not want to run for European when she was being dismissed by the federation. She was always had the pride to support the education and to be the voice of the women or the kids that they are not being supported. So now the warriors with guns are laying down their guns because of her. And then there is something special. And then I was asked by Museveni, president of Uganda, to do the same thing across Uganda. In my region, the Sudanese came to stay. So all along when I was going to school, we were just going to school with these kids. All along when I was doing sports, I could run with them. I go to Europe, they stay home. I could come home with some few t-shirts and keep them. But it was not enough. So my heart was paying all the time. What should I do for these people? But thank God that we had what we call reformed warriors. We trained together, and some they ran for the country. So Dr. Thomas Bach, who is the president of IOC, he knew all the struggle, what I was doing, because he was supporting the foundation. And sometimes I asked, okay, I have this orphans, I need your support as a friend. So he can give me money from his pocket. And one time I asked Thomas, that was 2013 in Spain. I asked, what do we do with people who doesn't have a home to run in international meetings? And then he told me, Tegla, I understand the pain and I know what you do. But when I become a president, I will make sure that these people will be helped. I was saying, why don't you become the president? And I was praying behind, I wish this man who have the heart of displaced persons. And for sure, he became the president, the first country, he came to Africa and he came to Kenya. And he asked me, Tegla, now I've talked with the United Nations. For athletes, it will work in Rio. You have athletes, I say, yes. Let's start from there. And that's when I went to Kakuma to select to do a trials. And in 2014, we had a race in Kakuma that's organized by the Tegla Loroupe Peace Foundation, UNSHR. And I saw a lot of athletes, good athletes. But now 2015 is when Dr. Thomas Bach came and told us to do for the refugees.
Yeah.
So I was encouraged because I had a background of fighting, and I never lose hope. And I always, when they talk about bad about the refugee, I never tell them what is happening, but it's always come on my back. And my face is, I smile, but I carry a lot of things on my back.
Are you hopeful about the world as we see it today, Tegla? Clearly on our TV screens and in reality, in your case, you're seeing the plight of the displaced played out all over the world to a frightening degree. And I would say forces of darkness, forces of anti-immigrant, anti-refugee have really grown in voice over recent times. How does that leave you feeling? Do you feel we're headed towards a better place in the future? Can we change the plight of the refugee, the displaced, to a better one in the future?
I think we can only change when the whole leaders of the whole world start to leave fighting or displacing their own people. And if people are being displaced, the business people who want to invest or also should invest in people. And if there is opportunity to give this displaced people more opportunity to work, give them education, make them human, not just like people who are being given food all the time. And these are people who can work. I think we will be in a better place.
Look, I agree. And look, we've talked about the power of sport. We've talked about the critical role of education. What about business? Tegla, this interview with me, this conversation,
when you talk about
all over the world, because we are an international industry. What's your message to business?
I will have to ask the business people that do not see displaced people as people who doesn't have ideas, who doesn't have a capacity to contribute to any business. Give the people the skills. Can you learn from them? Even some cannot be educated, but they have machinery, they have energy, they can work, they can do things that other people cannot do. Yeah. To be a business, it's not only about writing papers, it's not only about computers, it's what comes from our brains. Yeah. You can be a very successful business person, but you have stress. There are also people from these displaced people who can give you who can harmonize, help you to come out of stress. And for business people, you need a stress-free so that you can produce more. Give them empower people who have been displaced by the problem in their country. Make them leaders. Tomorrow they can go back to their countries. And this is where you can also go and do more business in those countries. When you see, for example, Kenya are fighting because of resources, let's say water. As a business people, you can encourage or empower youths. And tomorrow they bring this knowledge to a place where they are fighting. And because they fight because of resources, in that case, you already solved the issue, because the project will be also owned by the communities. Yeah. Right. And also we can only tell the business people all over the world, let us not be so greedy whereby we only take and we do not give a CSR. For example, we do so much in the foundation. For me, I can say, I wish I had people to support me. I could do more, because already I've prepared a platform for a goodwill. But now you have this goodwill, and here you have so many demands that they need you to support. But you have your hands. But we can work together, can be ambassador of something. I think we can change the mind of our people, and also the mindset of politicians, that they should understand that do not displace your people because you want to enrich yourself. Business people, you want to enrich yourself? No. Be neutral to the ground, and then we overcome the stigma.
Well, let's see what we can do to help that process, Tegla. Just because everybody
and tell the business people also to employ sports people, and then any company can be what can I say? They will have a happy mind, You compete against another company. Yeah. Healthy mind.
All right. Now, Tegla, tell me, when did you know as a little girl that you could run really fast and really long? I'm fascinated to know that.
It's always good to be raised up when you have brothers. Well, I used to run to school 10 kilometers every morning and evening, 10 kilometers, not knowing that I was doing endurance, because I did not want to be beaten by a teacher. So coming to inter classes, I think one time our class, and we were the youngest, and we were able to beat even the 7th grade. So, and then the PE teacher say, "Oh, this one, she's a very good athlete." So I was spotted by by the PE teacher at the age of 9. No, at the age of 7, and I was saying, this girl runs like somebody who is like 10 years. And they didn't understand my home is 10 kilometers away.
Yeah, and what people who don't know you, Tegla, won't know is that you weren't running in any sophisticated running shoes, were you? You were running.
There was no
feet.
shoes. No, I was running with my feet, without shoes. And I wanted to fight my brothers. And my father said, no, there is no sports. You should not do sports. You have to work hard in the class. And because my mind always would like to be good, I took mathematics, and then my brothers were not good at all. So my father couldn't complain because I was number 1 every time in class, number 1 in sports. I was just active. So we had no choice. But sometimes I come home and I have to stand a little bit far. Realize now maybe he will chase me. So I was ready to take leave.
Wow, remarkable. And the rest is history, of course. You turned into one of the great athletes of all time. You still have a world record. So that's some achievement. Where next, Tegla? I'm conscious of your time. So where next in your life? What's the next big thing for Tegla Loroupe?
Oh, the next big thing, I really want to see that we have a school, our school for displaced and rescue center. I will be happy if I can have a technical, whereby the kids can learn skills and some can do sports.
Well, look, we will do what we can certainly to promote that. It's a beautiful aim. Like all the work you've done, Tegla, you really are an inspiring figure. I think what we're seeing this year with the Olympic refugees team is just a brilliant symbol of your work, but also of a better world, a more hopeful world. And long may you keep leading us and inspiring us, Tegla. It's been fantastic to be with you today.
Thank you so much. And together, I think we will grow together. We will grow together strong and encourage those who need our support.
We will indeed, Tegla. Look, take good care of yourself. Take special care, and we look forward to speaking again, maybe sometime in the future.
We look forward to see you in Nairobi.
I look forward to that very much. All right, Tegla. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, was the remarkable, the wonderful Tegla Loroupe, an extraordinary humanitarian. And I have to say, speaking to her was truly one of the great honors of my life. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned from it. A tremendous session, so poignant and powerful, a wonderful human being. So we're going to take a coffee break now, a virtual one, of course, and we're going to meet the Sadeka sisters once again on the fairways and see what they're up to with the House of Somers, the sponsor of the virtual coffee breaks at this year's Virtual Travel Retail Expo. After the coffee break, we're going to return with yet another standout session of this week's Knowledge Hub program, and that's a meeting with Benjamin Bouchot, the chairman, chief executive officer of DFS Group, a resurgent DFS Group, I should say. And I think you're going to find what Benjamin has to say absolutely fascinating. So we'll see you soon. But first, let's pass over to the Sadeka sisters.
Hi everyone, it's Seema.
Hi, it's Nisha.
And welcome back to our Somers Coffee Break here at the Travel and Retail Expo.
We hope you're enjoying the virtual experience, We're out here today on the golf course, and we're gonna have a little sisterly competition.
But most importantly, who do you have to win?
Is it me?
Or is it me?
Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's tee it up. Wow, that's huge. That's way further than normal.
Well, my secret is a little sonorous on the tee.
I guess we both win.